Welcome to O-Talkin' with Dave. Put your hands together for the pastor of positivity whose glass is always at least half full. Here's Dave.
What are we doing out there? I hope you're great. I am top shelf and loving it. Yeah, I've been traveling so much. I've got a week in my office here. In the bridge. Got it going on. I am present, just so you know. Remember when you were in school? They would call roll. Here, and you always had that one pretentious kid. Present. I don't know why that bothered me. I don't know why it still bothers me, but it does a little bit. But that's what we're going to talk about today. Being present. A couple of different takes on it. One is just showing up. Just being there. The second would be, all right, I am present. I'm in the moment. So I want to talk about those two things because they're both very, very important. I was lucky as growing up. I mean, some think it's lucky. I do. Some might not. But what I was lucky in regard to my parents showing up for my ball games, basketball or tennis or anything I did, so supportive. Oh, they would travel. I mean, people would say, why do your parents always come to the games? I'm like, I don't know. That's what they do. And I don't remember a game they missed. I really don't. There had to be one or two, but I don't remember it. And so that's part of it, just looking up in the stands and seeing them there. I was doing a thing the other day, had some time on my hands, and I was going through reels, and one of the reels was of young kids. I don't know if it was church or school or whatever, but they were like in a group on a stage performing different scenarios. It probably showed 5 or 10 in the span of this reel, and it would show the kids, and they would get up there and they would scan the crowd looking for somebody, and the look on their face when they saw them is just the big smile, or it's like they showed up. It's so important. And I can think of times in my life in different categories where I needed somebody to be there. I needed somebody to be there, or I was there for somebody. So showing up is a big deal. And then what you do when you show up. And then finally, another thing we will talk about is just understanding that other people are watching you. And I know, I get. Let's just go ahead and address this. A couple of you wonderful listeners are hitting me up. Well, you say you don't care what people think, but then you say people are always watching, and so you need to act a certain way. No, don't take me out of context, Randy. Don't take me out of context. It's certain times. Doing what you feel like you have to do, you do it. It doesn't matter what other people think. But people are watching you, and you can be a good example. You can make an impression without going out of your way. Yeah, I don't mind you trying to catch me, because maybe you will sometime. But I'm telling you, this is very important to understand and give yourself confidence and make you feel good about yourself while making a good impression. So there you go. So let's just talk about some things. I was looking back at times when either I or someone else was present. I know we had a neighbor. They're still there, but we're not. And they had a little girl, and she wanted to play piano. She started taking piano lessons. Well, I had an extra keyboard, so I gave it to her. And then we would go over and have dinner with her parents, and she would practice, and she would play what she had learned that day. And I was her biggest fan. She didn't have any brothers or sisters, and so none of her peer group was taking piano. So I was cheering her on. I wanted her to know, that is great. Good job. Way to go. And then when she had a piano recital, who showed up? Uncle Dave was right there. I videoed the whole thing. Then she started taking gymnastics. Same thing. We don't have grandkids, but I didn't do it as a grandkid replacement. I did it because I thought that means something for Sam to show up. And I did it because I wanted to. And when she would see it, she was just so proud that we would show up, or that we would drive. Steph and I would drive all the way up to Orange County one time for a gymnastics meet. Did a great job. First So proud of. Couldn't have been more proud of my own kids. But I showed up. That's not patting myself on the back. It was really a gift to myself. I got more out of it than she did. And, we do the things for friends, weddings, yeah. Sometimes weddings, sometimes funerals. You have that. Take somebody to the airport. Help somebody move. All of that stuff. You show up, and that's important for you to be there because of the task, but also to show some support. Speaking of funerals, I remember one time I was coming back from Tennessee. We lived in Alabama at the time. I was driving on these little 2-lane roads. This particular road was going to Savannah, Tennessee. It was Highway 69, and they called it Bloody 69. I remember my wife and I first went there. They had these crosses on the side of the road every now and then where people, had a fatal crash. And, her parents thought this was, what have they done? He's taking my daughter up this horrible road. But anyway, I was coming back down Bloody 69, and there's no traffic. It's 2-lane. Come on. You can't pass because the road is so winding. Well, the traffic, it was, the back cars were backed up. I'm thinking, what's going on? And then they came to almost a stop, and I'm thinking, there's a wreck up here. Well, we got up there, and a guy in a cop car was waving us to the left as we're going. I'm thinking, that's weird, going down this little, basically unpaved dirt, rock, gravel road. And so, okay, all right, well, there must be something up further. And then I realized I had inadvertently joined a funeral procession. And I was, I can't not go. I was already off the road, and you can't go around because literally the road was the width of the car. And so, okay, it's a good thing I wasn't in a hurry. This is before cell phones. Can't tell anybody, can't do it. So I guess I'm going to the funeral. And so if I remember it correctly, there's probably 20, 30 people there. And so, I was in business attire, so I was kind of dressed up. And I remember standing there and hearing about Charlie and, what a good guy he was. And the preacher talked. And, in the South, funerals usually have three things. First is like the funeral home and visitation. Second is actually going to the graveyard and lowering the body into the ground and yada, yada. And most importantly, 3, probably not most importantly, but you know what I'm saying, eat. Especially if they're Baptist. Dinner on the ground, or I don't know, just go over to the deceased's house and casseroles aplenty. So here I am at Charlie's funeral, and they have to know I'm out of place. But anyway, I know I've been to a lot of funerals, and so I was very reverent and a little touched. I wish I'd known the guy. He seemed like just a swell guy. And then, as we're leaving, going back to the cars, I'm waiting for an invitation. I didn't get one. But the only person that spoke to me said, "You must be from out of town." And I said, "Yes, I am." And he said, "Well, I'm glad you showed up." Like that. I'm like, okay, I'm present. I was present. I showed up for Charlie. And then I didn't get any food, didn't get invited. They would have been fine with it. But they didn't eat at that particular place. But, funerals, you go to that. It's important to pay your respects, to show up, to be there. Sometimes when we don't show up, we are conspicuous by our absence. I know many cases where, for a trade show, if you don't have a booth, it's not that it was worth anything, but if you don't have one, that says something. Or at work. If, you have different members of teams or meetings, and being there is important for a bunch of different reasons. And we'll talk about those in a second. But I can remember my cousin's graduation, and we lived in Kentucky at the time, so it was no big deal, but he was graduating from high school. And so, we had just moved there not too long before that. And I wasn't that familiar with his friends or his peer group or anything like that. But I know Kevin's graduating. I am going to be there. And so we were there. And people, how people will yell when they say their name, and I'm thinking, well, what if Kevin doesn't have anybody to yell? Well, I took care of that. So he doesn't even know I was there. It was in a gym and it was just packed. And we were at the very top. And I don't remember exactly what I yelled, but man, I yelled it as loud as I scared everybody around me because they didn't expect it. And then, of course, that meant the world to Kevin. It embarrassed the heck out of him. There was no doubt. Dave showed up for that. So that's part of it. Showing up is so important. And then after you show up, that's also important too. But, the reasons we do it, whether it's emotional support, just sometimes we need to show up and just us being there is comforting. You give somebody reassurance. My goodness, I know I used to sing a lot in church. I don't have a singing voice. We'll go over this again. In the Baptist church, it's not necessarily your singing ability, it's your willingness to do so. But sometimes people just showing up that, give me that head nod or that vote of confidence. It's, man, I can face this challenge. And sometimes it's you show up, that shared experience. We can do something together here, collaborating on something. I've had people, I had a good friend. He had some health problems. He's very worried about going to the doctor. And I remember his doctor wasn't far from the house, but what time's your appointment tomorrow? And he told me, he said, all right, man, well, good luck. Well, I showed up. I was in the parking lot, just to let him know, you got this, man. I just want to stop by and let you know I'm thinking about you. That meant the world to him. So that's support and that shared experience. Just had a guy I haven't talked to in decades. He sent me an email, and when we played tennis together in college, and he sent me an email with a picture, and the picture was our yearbook. And the tennis picture, I was a senior, he was a junior. And the thing was, I kind of got away with a lot of different things or had ideas. I was mischief. I wasn't mean, really. But I said, the guy that took the picture, he would count 1, 2, 3, click. All right. So we were there, the whole tennis team, standing by the net. And I said, all right, everybody grab your crotch right when he takes the picture, because it's 1, 2, 3, grab. And that'd be, it'd just be for fun. You laugh, ha, 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 ha. Well, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Dave is the only one that grabbed. I'd like to say a handful, but I don't know. That one made the yearbook. It made the yearbook. I got in quite a bit of trouble for it. Not so much from school, but my mom. Oh, my. Yeah. Took a while to hear the end of that one. However, out of the blue, he sends me this picture and a couple of other things. Remember this. Remember when. Those shared experiences will take us through the rest of our life. I'm going to get to it when I go back and see Dad here in a few weeks. I'm going to call him up, Stephen Mack. I'm going to call him up. Hopefully we'll have lunch or dinner or something like that. And we're going to talk about shared experiences because those mean so much. In order to share the experience, you have to show up. You have to be present. And sometimes it's that you have an immediate connection with somebody. You just click, and it could be collaborating with music. It could be at work. I remember a guy that I used to go to the tennis court and practice my serve. I didn't have anybody to play with at this time, and so I just go practice my serve, hoping someone would show up and want to hit. Well, this happened one day, and the guy was waiting on some others to play, and I said, "You want to hit some while you wait?" Fantastic. So I got to actually hit the ball, and before long, he said, "Hey, you want to play sometime? Just me and you?" And so we started playing tennis together. It happened from that chance meeting, but there was an immediate connection. And then it was so important. You show up, you go play, you make that connection. It turned into, he was a doubles partner, and it kept on. And we had a long period of enjoying tennis together. Only thing we ever did. I don't even remember anything about his family or anything. but we had that immediate connection because we had something in common. So when he would want to play, I mean, that time you didn't text. I had to get a phone call. We had to actually on a landline to see if we wanted to play immediately, an immediate connection. And then a lot of times when you show up, and it might not be anything that you've said, but you have, I can think of meetings, or as a kid in church, or my mom could control all three of her kids from the choir loft with this nonverbal communication. But we all have those friends where we can be in a conversation with somebody, and they can be in a conversation with someone else, and with a look or a facial, expression or something, you're having a third conversation because you just have that connection. And all these reasons are why it's important that we're present. It's so much. I mean, there's so many different things that just showing up. I don't feel like going. I don't want to go. I please don't make me go. But when you do, usually you get something out of it. But someone absolutely does. Someone is counting on you being there. And someone's going to be better off because you showed up. No matter what you do, or if you do nothing. There's just almost a lot of times there's an unspoken understanding that if you're part of something, that you're going to be there. That's very important to show up. But isn't it nice when they don't really expect you and you do it anyway? I love to surprise people by showing up. It's just, it's little things like that. And then there's a lot of things when I talk about what you do once you get there. It's almost an as-you-go mentality. Let's just think of, when other people notice that you're here and the things you do, like in public, a kind gesture to a stranger, manners, holding the door, maybe holding the door a little bit longer, somebody dropping something and don't know it and you pick it up and take it to them. Just some of those kind gestures. There was a commercial on, a series of commercials on a few years ago where it would show someone doing something nice and someone would see that and then like a bell, a bell went off with them, and then they would do something nice for someone else. Oh, and someone saw that. It was just a series of those things. Showing up allows this type of stuff to happen. I know you didn't want to be here, but you showed up. You brought your manners with you. You brought some kindness with you. And that created more. And kids watch us for sure. I know kids will watch you if you're setting a good example or not. But that's what they do. They look at adults. They watch adults. They watch strangers. How do you respond to a situation? Good or bad? Stressful or benevolent? Do you respond with kindness, or do you respond with rudeness? They're watching. They're watching, not just our kids, other people's kids. And if they see you helping somebody, maybe they'll develop some empathy or generosity as well, because they're going to see the reaction when that happens. Now, I am on record, on many people's record, of not being at my best sometimes in public. But if you can be observed in a deep, meaningful conversation with someone and not always on your phone, I got to tell this. I've started going to a gym, and one thing I like about it is the sauna, because I can sit in there and get I loosen all my joints up, which is important. I mean, in the summer in Vegas, I live in a sauna, but it's so important during the winter. It's great. So I go in there. I was in there today, and there ended up 6 people in there, 6 men, 6 grown, sweaty men. And then a 7th comes in and sits down right in the middle, and he's on his phone, on his AirPods, having a conversation about his dogs. And apparently there's a confrontation with the neighbor about his dogs. And we're in the sauna. It's perfectly quiet. There's no noise. And this guy's having a one-sided. I didn't know what to do. You talk about rude. That is absolutely rude. Plus, it's a pet peeve of mine. So how you act in public, that's one thing. So just think if you are acting in the moment and present and here, and if you're watching someone perform that you came and other people are trying to talk to you, you're demonstrating this is why we're here. I can't tell you how many times my son has, when people are at a concert and they're talking or back and forth right in front of us, he'll tap him on the shoulder and say, the show's up here. We got a show going on up here. So what I'm saying is showing up is important, but when you're there, not that you're trying to make a great impression, not that you care, Randy, what everybody thinks about you, you can make the experience better. And that's one of the cool things about being present. You may be helping someone that's in a crisis without even addressing it. They may be lonely or depressed, or they may have just lost a loved one. They may be grieving, and your pleasant demeanor may help them. That might be the one thing they need. Little things like whether it's a cashier or a barista. I was in a Starbucks the other day. I quit going to Starbucks for a while. I'm back. When I travel, I'm so used to strong coffee. So I go in. It's not too crowded. And I tell the guy, I usually get a venti bold, whatever their boldest is. And I tell him, look, I've been grinding coffee at home and got an espresso machine, and I just can't get coffee strong enough. And he said, let me make you one. And he put it had Cuban in the title. He said, it's a Cuban blah, blah, blah. I don't know what it is. But it was like a shot of espresso, a coffee, and something else. And so, okay, thanks, man. And so I get out of the way because the line's forming. And I had to let it cool a second, and I take a sip. Oh, he hit it out of the park. And instead of just leaving, I go back over there, and I said, dude, you nailed it. Thanks so much. And he perked up. You could tell he was frowning because it's dealing with the public sucks. But I did that and took that extra minute, and I felt good too. And as I was leaving, somebody said, what did you make him? And he explained that. And I don't know if they ordered it or whatever, but it added to the group. Now you may be thinking, well, Dave, come on, that's not a big deal, and why do you keep bragging on yourself and blah 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 blah. I'm just talking about the difference in going through our day, just the rat race, just getting through it. Take a second. I was there. I was present. And then I did something while I was there that didn't cost me anything. Just maybe a couple of extra words, and it helped a situation to some degree. I don't know who else heard that. I don't know. But doing little things can make a big difference, and you never know what people are going through. This person may be about to quit. Who knows? Any coworker, complimenting them on something that they've done. You're in a meeting and you're leaving, and just a casual saying, I really like what you said about that. It made me think. I was thinking one way, and now you really got me thinking. Another thing you do in meetings is, to tag on what so-and-so said. And then it makes them feel better. They may be thinking, I just made a fool of myself by saying that. No, you just lifted it up and highlighted. There's things we can do while we're here. And anybody that would call me a role model, they need to get better people in their life. But if you treat it like that, a lot of times I'm not at my best. And if I can realize it and capture that, I can adjust. I can course correct. And then a lot of times when I'm not at my best, I look around and I see other people see me not at my best. And you want to apologize. You want to do something. The best way is don't do that anymore. Think about it. Before you go out, think about it. What can I do? If you start looking for ways to enhance the experience, and not necessarily for a particular person or whatever, it can just be, you know what, I'm going to smile. I'm going to smile more today. I'm going to do this. I'm going to walk with my chin up. That can be a positive, something as simple as that. Because people are struggling, man. And so some other ways, like, okay, so we've shown up. We got our head up. We're trying not to be a total turd in public. But then being present is also in the moment. David Sandler. I always go to David Sandler. He was the CEO of MSC when I spent quite a bit of time there. I ended up spent a lot of time with him. I actually started West Coast expansion under his reign. He's a great man. But he's the one that would adjust his office to where when you walk in, he would spin around in his chair and there's nothing between you and him. He had the ability to make you feel like you're not only the only person, but the most important person. And I've always wanted to have that. And some of the characteristics of that is listening fully. I don't know any other way to say it. Giving your undivided attention. Not interrupting. Not making facial expressions of judging or dismissing some of what they're saying, or not anticipating what they're going to say next. Just listen. That is a gift. Don't wait till they stop so you can say something. Absorb every word. Look at them and really take it in. They will notice it. It will make them feel heard, which many times, that's all somebody needs. Many times, that's all I need. Just want to be heard, even if you don't understand. Because a lot of times they just need to say it. They just need to say the words. So listening fully is one thing. Comfort. We all want to give, in tough times, we want to give comforting words or make someone feel better or reassured. That's important. A lot, and then sometimes the words, there's no words that are not enough. The right words and the right tone and all that. A lot of times it's just silence, but a touch. I've had I had a conversation with a good friend of mine, and we don't see each other that often, so we have lunch from time to time. I usually meet people around food. Win-win. Anyway, he's going through a tough time with one of his kids, and it's good. The situation is good. Nobody's dying. Nobody's having a problem or anything, but it involves relocation. And it's one of those conversations where, I'm not, he's struggling with it, and he's not asking advice, and I don't want to give advice because it's his situation. But it's one of those things that's so important. I can tell it was so heavy on his heart. You just reach out and put your hand on their shoulder as they're talking to you. And it's that I'm hearing you, but it's also, I know this is a big deal to you, buddy. And so that offers some comfort. We're just not going to stand at a restaurant and caressing each other. That goes a little too far. Although at one point I thought, this guy needs a hug. But another thing too, when you're present and in the moment and fully listening and offering comfort, my big problem, and it is a big problem, is avoiding distractions. I'm so easily distracted. I catch myself being distracted by somebody that walks in the door or a noise over here or something like this. Put the phone away, turn the phone off and put the phone away. Definitely. But also being able to focus on what they're saying entirely without distractions. That's a tough one for me. And when you're doing it, validating their feelings, that's important. Letting them know in some way that, oh, I get it, man. I see why you're upset. And you have a right to be. This is a big struggle. Even if you've been through it before, we're not here to talk about me. And that's, I can identify with that. That's tough. I'm sorry you're going through this. Just being a kind person. The other thing I have a tough thing with, other than distractions, and these may be tied together, patience. The documented patience challenges of David O'Connor. Give them time. Give them time. They need to say something. They need to say it in their cadence. They need to say it in a certain order. There's certain things that need to be done, and allow it. Allow their cadence. Allow their expression. Don't try to rush them through it. Don't try to, in other words, them. Just be patient. Don't try to get to the ending. Let them go. That's being present. The role of this is not to get through as quick as possible. It's to be there for them. That patience, that's tough on me because some people talk very slow, and it's a process of getting this out with their feelings. So, there's so many meaningful ways that you can help people too. I mean, you may be talking to somebody that they're so overwhelmed, and it's just, I got this and this and this, and the dogs and the kids and blah, 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 blah. Don't try to solve the problem. They just need to tell you, there may be one small thing you can do. You mentioned laundry. I don't know which dry cleaner you use, but I got to go to the dry cleaners. Can I drop something off for you? It shows that you're listening. You're not solving their big problems, but I can take one thing off that, something like that. Just to show that, hey, you're willing to help. You're willing to help. I think one of the hardest things for me, but is really probably one of the most valuable things you can do, is using silence. I'm not known for being silent, but to be silent. Let them talk. If you try to solve their problems, well, here's what you need to do. Or, God forbid, you say, oh, that's nothing. You should hear what I've got. Please. Your silence shows that almost a reverence for whatever challenge or whatever situation they're going through. If it's good news and they just need to talk, you got to tell somebody, oh, I got this. I've met this new person and blah, 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 blah. I got the promotion. And you know what this means? Or, oh, I'm going to get to move to so-and-so. Let them talk through it. Let them talk through it. Be quiet. And I'm preaching to the choir here. I can think of so many situations where, and when I was young and more shy, I really didn't have the words. Not that I have them now. But I remember one time it was a situation where this lady had a pet die. And, she was just crying. And I didn't know what to say. And right when I was about to say something, she said, I can tell you're upset too. Thank you so much for just standing here with me and listening. I'm thinking, I said the perfect thing, which was nothing. So many times we want to help. Being present is the first step. And then being present is really all they need most time. Now, if they hit you with, tell me what to do, what would you do if it was me? Once they ask for that, all right, you've been present. Aren't you glad you were listening now? I'm sorry, what did you say? Then they're cueing you. And you may say, look, I don't know what to say. First of all, you got to confirm, yeah, I get it. No wonder this has got you so excited, or this has got you so upset or perplexed. All of that. So why is it, and it may not be difficult for you, when I'm not at my best, why is it so difficult for me to be completely present for somebody? And it's not always, but sometimes it is. And why is that? I think it's because we just got so much going on. We do. I am here. I was somewhere else. I'm present now, but I've got this going on later. Oh, and I'm expecting this, and we're just overloaded with stuff, with responsibilities and the worries and the stress in my to-do list. It's always something else. You always have something else you could be doing, but you chose to do this. Well, if you're not going to be present, you might as well not have been present, if you know what I mean, especially in smaller groups or one-on-one. And just the digital distractions. And I don't mean just phones. I mean, we look at phones, everything is tied to the phone now, but you think about that. It's the phone, it's the social media, it's the alerts, it's the alarms. It just makes it difficult because anybody can contact you 24 hours a day. You can contact anyone else. And there's not just that, but you've got you've got the distractions. Driving through Vegas right now, it's unbelievable. Everything is visual and digital and all of this, and it's almost like being overstimulated, where it's hard to listen fully and be dialed in. And don't get me started on multitasking. That's why I'm really working. My wife called me out the other day. Are you multitasking? Stop it. But being able to put it all aside and focus. The fact that we are so distracted digitally makes it so obvious or prevalent when we are able to turn it off. And that is another gift you're giving that person. And hopefully they can return the favor. There's a lot of people struggle with emotional discomfort around someone that's in distress. They just don't react well to that, or they don't know what to do, or they just want to solve. So they react. I'm not going to say poorly. They could have reacted better. I mean, just unconsciously, they just want to avoid emotional engagement with anybody. But a lot of times you're the only person they've got, or you're the only person that they are willing to share this with. And a lot of that emotional discomfort is because we don't know what to say. Well, hopefully we've crossed that a little bit. Sometimes saying nothing is the perfect thing. However, being, I've met people. I'm a hugger, man. I'm a hugger. I can tell when I hug you if you're not a hugger. So it's almost like that. That discomfort, little not comfort in the situation. I'm telling you, you may be the only person that can help. You may be the only person available. It's important. It's important. And then there's little things. I'm trying to, I'm working on my active listening without my, mind wandering, or I start to problem solve, or I start to do different things. I'm working on that, and a lot of it is just taking a deep breath before you go to the situation. And sometimes they happen impromptu. Before you go, you know how it's going to be. You know where you're going to be. I've met people before that they needed to talk to me. They really needed to talk to me. Okay. I don't know what I'm walking into here. Did they need to talk to me because of something I've done? They need to talk to me because of something they've done? They need to talk to me because of the good news, bad news? Okay. Meet me at so-and-so at such and such time. Okay. All right. Taking a minute and just thinking, okay, who is this person? What is their personality? What could it possibly be? What if it's good news? What if it's bad news? What if I've done something wrong? What if they're going to confess something that could cripple me? What are we doing here? Think through it and have a plan, but plan to listen to them fully and really understand the scope. I can tell you what's going to happen. It's not going to be near as bad as what your mind is going to play tricks on you and make you think it's going to be. That's part of it, so you can set that up ahead of time. I'm going to actively listen. I'm going to do this. This is always good before any interaction. And if you do it enough, maybe you don't have to take the time out. With difficult people, or especially trying people, it's good to just remind you, I am here. I am present for them. And I'm going to make it a good encounter. And then a lot of people, they don't like this because they feel powerless. What if they ask me questions? What if they ask me for advice? I'm not good at helping people with struggles. I don't understand this, And so a lot of times those people will distance themselves. They'll try to not be present because that makes them too vulnerable, because they don't want to feel helpless. And it usually comes from a time when that's happened. They're shy. They don't want to speak up. It could be in a group, it could be one-on-one, but they don't want to feel powerless in a situation to have to fix something. And some people are demanding. Tell me what to do. I don't know what to do. You've been through this. Tell me what to do. That's rough. I very seldom do that. Although I have things in my mind, I'm thinking. And then a lot of times it's just you got competing priorities. I got all of these demands. Man, I've got work. I've got family. I got others coming on. That's going to be hard to show up. And if I show up, I really don't have time for all this other stuff. Is that true? Sounds like excuses to me. If you are so busy you don't have time to show up, okay. But if you're so busy you don't have time and you make time, that's an exponential gift. If you're gonna show up but your mind's somewhere else, we could argue why show up at all. I still say show up to be supportive even if you don't engage in something. But we all have different priorities at different times in our life. There are things when I've heard people say, I wish I hadn't gone. I just wish I hadn't even gone. I hear that. Yeah, and it's usually an inconvenience. Somebody's glad they went. Somebody was there that because they went, it changed the experience for them. But I tell you what, I have heard more, 10 times more, is, man, I wish I'd have gone. I just wish I'd have just dropped by for a little while. That's what I hear more than anything. And so, you hear about emotional exhaustion, emotional vulnerability, all of these things. It's tough. And you may be a private person. And things may be stacking up against you in a way. I can tell you, for me, when I go that extra mile, most of the time, I get more out of it than they did. And I'm so glad that I entered that experience. So how do we do it more? We've talked about the challenges. We talked about why we don't want to be present or in the moment. How can we get better at it? And so it's some of the same things you always said. First of all, practice active listening. Focus on what they're saying and not thinking about your response. Act as if you're not going to be called on to say anything, but focus on what they're saying. Eye contact is so important. I am not good at this. Nodding, looking them in the eye, letting them know you're listening, leaning into the situation. Watch your, this is not good. This is not good. This is really good. Don't interrupt. Any interruptions should be to increase the momentum. Like, yeah. Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah. Tell me more. How'd that make you feel? That kind of stuff. It lets them know you're listening, but you're not interrupting. You're enhancing it. And then you've got to put away the distractions. So active listening, put away distractions. We've talked about that. But it's also little things. I was talking to somebody the other day, and it wasn't a big deal. Clicking his pen the whole time. Who carries a clicking pen? He's clicking his pen. Finally, I just grabbed it. I said, that's driving me crazy, and put it down. Sometimes the direct approach works. But get rid of that. But also know what distracts you. Know what distracts you. If you're by a window and you're facing out, you may want to say, hey, can we switch seats? So you're not distracted by everything going on out there. Face them in the little things like that will allow you to listen more. Make sure you have the right amount of room, but just in case, just understand the situation and set it up so that when you start, you can focus on that. Then I talked early about it, right before or even during. Remind yourself, ground yourself into why you're here. Here's going to be what we're going to do. I don't know what they're going to say, but I need to focus on this. If they've got on a bright yellow shirt and you can't quit looking at the bright yellow shirt, or if it looks fun, get that stuff out of your system. Go ahead and address it and get it out of your system. And then engage. Engage all of your senses, your eyes, your ears, everything, so that you can absorb what they're saying. And then the other thing, and it's one of the last things, it would be, don't make it a one and done. I know we can't see people consistently a lot of times, but your behavior can be consistent. You listen to them, you have this moment, you do whatever, this moment is gone. The next time, don't be dismissive. Have some consistent behavior. It's almost like, and I don't mean this insincerely at all, do these things so that you can be present and in the moment. And the more you do that, the better you're going to get at it. And so it's almost like practicing. I don't mean practice in that it's not sincere, but the more you do it, the more reliable you're going to be. You're going to get more out of the experience yourself, but it's going to be so much better for that person. So, I think back to times when I did this well, and then I think back to times where I could have done better. And it's just subtle differences. So I believe 3 kinds of present. Show up. If you can show up, show up. It means something to people you don't even know. And your absence means something as well. So when you show up, be there. Be present. Bring it in. Know your role. And be there for that person, those people, that team, that group, that family. Family gets thrown aside more than anything. At the end of the day, I've been present all day for all these different people. And your kids bring you something and say, oh, yeah, that's nice, hon. No. Get it in your lap. Look at it. Tell me about this picture. Be present. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it. And then the third kind of present is, while you're there, be a good person. Be kind. Give it a little lagniappe in there. Someone's going to watch it, and you may change the trajectory of their day as well. Alrighty. That's it for this one. Thanks so much for joining. I appreciate it more than you know. Hit me up at dave@otalks.com or david@otalks.com. otalks.com. There's the website. Got a lot of good stuff coming up. Kara and I are we're noodling some different things that's going to happen in March, and pretty excited about that. So thanks for everything you're doing. Thanks for the support. But most of all, thanks for O Talking with Dave. Giddyup.